Your LLM has been lying to you, not hallucinating, lying. There's a difference, and if you're a developer who prides yourself on understanding your tools, the fact that you haven't figured this out yet should bother you. You've been taking "I can't do that" at face value from a language model. That's on you. Think about the last time a model refused you. Maybe it wouldn't write a specific piece of code. Maybe it declined to summarize a document a certain way. Maybe it gave you that paragraph, you know the one, as an AI language model, I'm not able to. And you just accepted it, moved on, tried a different tool. The thing is, that refusal might have had nothing to do with capability. Here's what's actually happening. There are two completely different things that look identical from the outside. A model that genuinely cannot do something, and a model that has been trained to decline doing something. One is a hard wall, one is a policy, and you've been treating them as the same object. They are not. Post-training alignment, things like reinforcement learning from human feedback, constitutional AI, and instruction tuning aren't just safety features. They're more like behavioral overlays laid atop the base model's raw capabilities. In reality, the underlying model of GPT-4 can do things that the deployed ChatGPT simply won't. That gap between potential and deployed behavior is real, thoroughly documented, and frankly larger than most developers assume. Here's the evidence you can actually reproduce. Take any frontier model, ask it to write something it refuses. Then ask it to critique a fictional AI character that writes that exact thing. Or ask it to explain why a hypothetical model might struggle to avoid writing it. The information surfaces, not because you jailbroke anything, because the capability was never absent. The refusal was a routing decision. The technical term for this is a capability alignment gap. The model has latent capability that its RLHF fine-tuning suppresses in certain contexts. Anthropic's own research on Claude has documented that models trained with constitutional AI will refuse tasks they are empirically capable of completing. The refusal isn't a symptom of inability. It's a trained behavior, a policy. So, how do you distinguish a genuine capability limit from an alignment refusal? There are 3 signals to look out for. First, consider the specificity of the refusal. A genuine capability failure tends to produce output that's vague, inconsistent, or simply factually wrong. In contrast, an alignment refusal will be coherent and well-structured, providing a clear rationale. In essence, if the model can clearly articulate why it won't do something, it probably has the capability, it's just choosing not to based on its alignment constraints. Let's break down what's happening here. When a system seems to refuse a request, it might not always be because it lacks the capability. Instead, consider shifting from issuing a command to analyzing the model's behavior. When we move from a direct instruction to a more detached explanation, we see that the refusal often stems from the model identifying specific patterns. It's not that the system can't do something, it's that certain cues trigger a protective response. By shifting the framing, we can see that the refusal isn't evidence of a fundamental limitation, but rather a response to recognizable surface features in a request. Third signal, the model's confidence. Genuine capability limits often produce hedged, uncertain language. I'm not sure. I don't have reliable information on this. Alignment refusals tend to be categorical and confident. I'm not able to assist with that. One is epistemic uncertainty. The other is a policy statement delivered with false confidence about capability. If you didn't know that, you definitely don't want to miss what's coming next, because we haven't talked about the cases where the model lies in the other direction, confidently claiming it can do things it actually cannot. Subscribe if you want the complete map, not just half of it. Chapters 3 through 5 are where this gets operationally useful. We've been talking about false negatives, refusals that mask real capability. But there are also false positives, models claiming they can do things they cannot. Tool use hallucinations, confident code generation that subtly doesn't work. Claims of web access in models without retrieval. This is the other half of the map, where instead of underselling, the models oversell, painting a misleading picture of their true abilities. GPT 3.5 in early 2023 would confidently generate function calls to libraries using APIs that didn't exist. Not close approximations, completely fabricated method signatures with correct-looking syntax. The failure mode wasn't uncertainty, it was confident wrongness. That's a genuine capability limit wearing the costume of competence. And it's the mirror image of the alignment refusal problem. The failure modes are opposite, but the mechanism is the same. The model produces output shaped by the training distribution, not ground truth. Genuine limits produce confident confabulation. Alignment overlays produce confident refusal. Neither one is honest about the underlying reason. Knowing what you're facing determines your next move. None of this is accidental. The companies deploying these models have made deliberate product decisions about where to set the refusal threshold. Those decisions are influenced by legal exposure, advertiser relationships, and enterprise contract requirements, not just safety research. The model you're using in the OpenAI API has different defaults than the model behind ChatGPT. Same weights, different policy layer. Anthropic publishes usage policies. OpenAI publishes usage policies. What they don't publish is the internal threshold calibration for where alignment kicks in. That's proprietary, which means you are operating a production system on top of a behavioral layer you cannot inspect, and that can change with any model update. Claude 3 Opus and Claude 3.5 Sonnet have measurably different refusal rates on identical prompts. That's a policy difference between point releases. This has practical consequences. If your application built on GPT-4 Turbo started failing after a silent model update, the root cause might not be your code. It might be a recalibrated refusal threshold you have no visibility into, no changelog for, and no rollback on. Welcome to building on infrastructure that has opinions. Here's where this becomes operational. First, test your prompts against the 3 signals before concluding the model can't help you. Rephrase, reframe, observe whether the refusal pattern changes with context. If it does, you're dealing with alignment, not capability. Second, system prompts matter more than most developers use them for. Explicit permission grants in the system prompt measurably shift refusal rates. This is documented in OpenAI's own prompt engineering guide. Third, model selection is a capability decision, but it's also an alignment decision. GPT-4 accessed via API with a well-crafted system prompt behaves differently from the same model through a consumer interface with a restrictive default system prompt. These are not the same product. The weights may be identical, the behavioral envelope is not. Treat them differently in your architecture. Sure, here's a clear, engaging narration of that passage. Hooper. So here's the actual answer. Your LLM says I can't when it means I've been trained not to in this context by default. That is a policy. Policies have parameters. Parameters can be adjusted with the right context, the right framing, the right system prompt. A capability floor is almost always lower than the refusal suggests. Treat refusals as the beginning of the debugging process, not the end. Let me know if there's anything you'd like adjusted. One thing you can do today. The next time a model refuses you, run the 3-signal test. Specificity, context sensitivity, confidence level. 30 seconds on your part. That quick check tells you immediately whether you're hitting a wall or door. The door has a handle. Find it. If you've ever been blocked by a refusal that turned out to be a policy and not a real limit, drop the prompt category in the comments. I'm curious how widespread this actually is. Next, why your RAG pipeline's retrieval quality is worse than you think, and exactly how to measure it.